Hey guys, this is Rich of FastReviews. I am super excited. Let's go ahead and open it in 3, 2, 1. This one is basically a camera that combines some of the features of the Alpha series along with, I guess, some of the features of a AI type of camera like the GoPro. Let's go over the details here. It's got a made for iPhone iPad, which probably means that it can sell in the Apple Store. It's got an E-mount full frame camera, 35mm. And this is the package that contains the lens. This is Sony's Alpha series. It says that it's got the zoom lens kit. This is an interchangeable lens digital camera. This is actually made in Thailand, the lens, and I'm sorry, made in Thailand is the camera, and made in Vietnam is the lens. By the way, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Alright. So first thing we see is we've got a bunch of manuals. Sony has a limited warranty here. It's got a limited warranty for 1 year. Highly recommend if you're traveling with this camera, you get the protection plan. One of the things that they don't have ready yet is the 4K 120 frames per second upgrade. So this is a firmware update. Now this camera is notorious for some heat issues, so presumably they'll also fix some of the heat issues if you're recording in hot weather and you're going longer than expected. So there's a firmware update that's coming soon. They even have a link here. Pretty interesting to sell a product. By default, the camera does 4K 60 frames per second. One accessory they may want to consider is the tripod add-on, because you'll be able to control the camera utilizing the button on the tripod. The lens that comes in this package is the FE28 to 60mm. That's got an f-stop of 4 to 5.6, a focal length of 28 to 60mm, a filter diameter of 40.5mm. It provides you with a front lens cap and a rear lens cap and a cap. Okay, this is the lens itself. It comes in a nice little cloth-like, very light actually. This also has the E-mount dot here. This camera can also be used with an external source. You can actually use a USB-C type of cable and have, I guess pretty much, it does have a microphone windscreen that mounts onto the accessory shoe, and then it's also got multiple shooting modes. Okay. Then we've got the lens strap here, camera strap here. We've got in a paper bag. We got, feels like it's a dead cat. A dead cat, by the way, is a windscreen, a micro windscreen, so it mounts on the accessory shoe. We've got the battery. This battery is the NP-FZ100 battery. And this is a 7.2 volt, 16.4 watt hour battery, so pretty nice. It does have 3 connector pins as well too. And then there's no, you need a separate charger for this. Let's continue the video. Alright, this is the camera itself. Feels actually, yeah, feels very light. Alright guys, so here's the camera. I'll give you the measurements in a second. It's 5 inches by 2 inches by 3 inches, so a very small form factor here. Let's put the battery in, see if there's any charge. Alright, here we go. And we'll just put this in like so. Okay. Feels very stable. I mean, it's a square camera cover. Very, very nice looking. And that matches the thing, so we're going to line up the E-mount side. Right there. This is about 4 inches wide now, and still about 3 inches tall. The camera has a larger core button as opposed to the other cameras from Sony that have the side record button. So it's nice, fits my finger. I don't know if it's going to auto start or not. I'm going to turn it on first. It's on display. One of the other nice things is that it has a display lens that can alternate and switch, so you can adjust the angle. If you're vlogging, I guess, you can turn it around towards you. Or if you've got it mounted on a tripod, you can basically have the lens face you. So I'm going to tell you some of the features as well too while we get this open. It's a 12 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor. It does not have a mechanical shutter, but you know, when you do a video really fast, it doesn't have the rolling shutter effect. It does UHD 4K video at 60p, so 60 frames per second without cropping. You can also get the full HD up to 120 frames per second. That's pretty good because you don't need to upgrade the firmware to get that speed. Now it also does 10-bit 422, so if you're looking for color correction as well too, you can use some of the different features. The 4K 120 frames per second and the 1080 HD 240 frames is going to be added later. In some regions it's actually a paid upgrade, so boo for that. Let's go over the side ports here. We've got the USB-C plug. We've also got a external microphone jack, which is very nice, especially if you're using the wireless microphones. It's only got one SD card, which some people have complained about, but if you're really good at not losing your SD cards, then you know it should be okay. It does fit a full-size SD card, not a micro SD card, which I personally like because you have less of a tendency to lose them, in my opinion. It has a micro or mini HDMI slot. Not sure. It is a micro HDMI slot here, so it almost looks like a micro USB, and it's got a headphone jack, which is very interesting. So all the ports are on this side. Multiple mode settings here. We've got the photo mode. The photo mode, this camera isn't really for photos, but it does take decent quality photos. The biggest feature here of this camera is the dynamic stabilization. That means that you'll be able to you're not required to have a gimbal. Sony actually sells the tripod accessory so that you can control your camera. But again, going back to dynamic stabilization, it also has the framing feature. So if you're walking around, this camera can actually crop in and create the appearance of having a second camera person. So I like that because if you're using a tripod mount, then you'll be able to do that without having a separate camera person. It also has the Cinevlog feature, so you can use different color profiles like Cinetone, and then you can also apply a series of moods and looks to your footage to create that look. It's 23.98, and it uses a 2.35 to 1 cinematic widescreen. You got basically a cinematic feature if you push the button, almost like an anamorphic mode. Now, the depth of field is controlled, and supposedly the focus breathing issues with the prior Sony cameras are fixed. And the other thing that it has that's really nice, which makes it a little bit better than the other Sony lineup, is it's got a really high night vision profile. So that means that you can take very good low light shots. It has a dedicated AI processing, so the A7R camera chip has been applied to this. So it recognizes things such as cars, motorcycles, and of course people's eyeballs, even the back of your head. The camera also allows you to output original 4K over HDMI. Now you can also upload your own tables of color and transformation tables to the camera, so you can actually use log mode and then give you some pre-graded footage, which means it's going to save you when you're editing your video. It's going to save you some time later on. Now, the one thing that's really nice too is that time-lapse. So when I first got a camera that had time-lapse, it was really puzzling because it was just taking a lot of photos at different intervals. This camera will actually apply those and create a movie for you, so you don't have to post-process a time-lapse. So let's go over the features and let's compare this. The Sony FX3 is in a different category at around $4,000. The A7S III is about $3,500. The sensor is the same sensor among all three, which is a 12 megapixel BSI. The IBIS rating is 5.0 EVs versus 5.5 on the other two cameras. This does not have mechanical shutter, which is good and bad, and it does not have any viewfinder. So again, you're going to look at the LCD displays. There is recording limit time on 4K 60, which is 30 minutes. Now, most people don't shoot at 4K 60, most people shoot at either 1080p 60, which is about 90 minutes time, or 4K 30. You know, unless you're shooting 4K 60, then you might have that heating problem because there is no fan that is built into this camera. It's a sealed camera case, almost as if it was meant to be waterproof, but it's not. The camera weighs about 17 ounces, not without the lenses. And now the nice thing about this camera too is that you can read the gyroscope data. So if the built-in stabilization is not good enough for you, you can further stabilize it in post-processing. Alright, so this is the built-in microphone with the Sony. I'm about 2.5 feet away, and now I'm about 1 foot away. The nice thing about these microphones is that it senses the direction, or you can manually set it to do forward, side, or back. And you should be able to see that.
The focus should still be the same if I cover my eyes.
Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the future.